This is Noah Gundersen, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I'm excited for the new record. I was listening to it on the way here. Dude, I mean, the previous 3-4 records that you've created have been amazing. So this is, you could tell this is something different for you. Tell me about this record, White Noise, which drops in September. And where did your how has your creative process like evolved within the 4 records?
Well, I think part of it's just experience, and I've been doing some producing for other people. I've been doing some side projects. I've also just surrounded myself with some people that have really challenged me and also helped me to grow. I mean, I think I've been learning that I just can't do everything myself. So I've been really lucky to meet some folks that have been able to fill in the spaces that I'm lacking.
Right.
You know.
Now, as you're creating this record, you mentioned challenges. What were those challenges that you faced? Maybe in the studio when you were tracking guitars, you know, tracking vocals.
I think just like the biggest challenges are just being able to like, I'm very self-critical, but being able to get past that self-criticism and actually make it productive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's a difference between just sitting and saying like I'm frustrated, but then turning that frustration into something productive, which I think we did. But there were definitely moments where you're just kind of hitting a wall.
So tell me about this record. What is it about this record? Who are you in this record? And on top of that, the cover for the record, there's a snake on there. Is there a significance for the snake?
I wanted to kind of try and capture the contrast between like this organic fluid beauty and then something that is really kind of like salt, like what's like a hospital, like a anesthetic or yes, something sterile, I guess. Something really sterile and static. So like this contrast of a snake, which is this fluid organic thing, and then this like really clean sterile environment that the photograph is shot in, and then also something that is just a little unsettling. I mean, like a snake is that for a lot of people.
Right. Now, with the album, did you work with any specific producers? Is this something that you did on your own? And who was it that you ended up working with?
My friend Nate Yacino produced the record for me, and it wouldn't be what it is without him.
How did this collaboration really work out? I mean, to me, I feel like when an artist works with a producer, I feel like it's always a collaboration, right?
Yeah, yeah. Him and I have, so he moved to Seattle like probably 6 years ago, and ironically, him and I, he was trying to move into the house that I was living in at the time, and had like MySpace messaged me. I didn't know who he was. And at the same time, he was like, not knowing that I lived with this person, was also, he was Craigslisting, messaging my roommate, who we'd had this room open up in the house, and this whole weird thing. We had this whole weird story, and he didn't end up moving in, but then years later we connected, and he had worked in some studios around town and worked with some friends, and he had this space in Ballard, which is a neighborhood in Seattle, and he had a room open up, and I was looking for like a rehearsal space, which are usually really crummy, like windowless rooms that are like 400 square feet, and this beautiful space opened up, and it was just him and I. So I moved into this room, and he had the room next to me, and it ended up kind of just like our spaces just became one big space, and we shared the area. Right. And then I don't know, you have like a feeling about somebody, and I'm trying to learn how to just trust my intuition with things, and we thought about different producers, and thought about self-producing and which, you know, what direction we wanted to go, and then it just kind of just ended up being like Nate seems like the guy, and it was great. We come at music a little differently, but I think there was a really healthy push and pull between us over the course of the record, which made it into what it is, which is something different than anything I've ever made.
Right. And what was that process like with him, especially that first day that you guys got together to work on this?
We we actually sat, like when I asked him, we went to this cafe in Seattle, and we sat down, and he said, let's make the best record either of us have ever made. And I asked him if we, without
you even mentioning anything, right?
Well, no, like we had talked about it, and then
like, this is too natural.
Yeah. And I asked him the other day, I was like, did we make that record? And he's like, well, I don't know. Who knows if we did? But I think we did. But we got together and started doing pre-production in like July of last year, and then we spent 8 months in the studio just hammering away at it.
Yeah. Now, did you try any new things on this record, as opposed to your previous? What was it? Three albums?
Yeah, there was a lot done differently. I mean, the most significant thing was just the amount of time we spent. And having that time and having the space and recording at our shop. The Bait Shop is what the space is called. Okay. And it's this big, like 1,600 square foot loft, kind of like the Wilco loft is what we imagine it to be like. But just having the time, having the space to experiment and to try things out and to put things down and then take things away and then, you know, add layers and then wait for the paint to dry and then add more layers and things like that. I just never really had the opportunity to take that kind of time before, and then to have someone to guide me through that process and to challenge me and push me.
Now, as you mentioned layers, how do you know there's too many layers or there's not enough layers on a track? That's where he steps in.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, again, it's just, I think it's intuition that comes from experience. Like, I don't think intuition is just a thing you're born with. I think it's something that you gain from paying attention and to, attempting and failing and being able to learn from your mistakes and to be able to observe things with a critical eye and see what works and to analyze. And so I think, you know, both of us just trying to pay attention, like when is this too much? But in the past, I've always leaned on the side of minimalism, whereas with this record, I was more open to filling out the space, like making more of a sort of a wall of sound kind of thing.
Right. And with what was it, 14 tracks on this album? 14, 15?
Like 13, 14.
With all those tracks, was there a specific one that took the longest to create? Maybe you reconstructed it a few times, or it probably wasn't even going to be on the record in the first place?
There's one called Heavy Metals that we spent quite a bit of time chopping up and doing re-edits and things. I don't know. It's hard to say if one was more particularly difficult than any other. But I mean, the whole we recorded like 26 songs, and then kind of part it down to the ones that are on the record. But we're going to be releasing a lot of the extra tracks as 7-inches after the release of the record.
And this record drops September 22nd, right? Leading up to that, you've already released the lead single for it, which is The Sound, right? Can we talk a little bit about The Sound and why you chose this one to be the first listen from the album?
Well, everybody at the label said it was what we should do.
Intuition again.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like a pretty immediate jammer. I think. I think it hopefully showcases what the change of sound in the record, and but also it's still like a lyrically driven song. I hopefully don't feel like it alienates any fans that have, supported me for other work that I've done. Right. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier, as we were talking evolution of your writing, how do you get better at writing when you're writing music? Is it reading books? Is it listening to more music? Like, how does that work for you?
You just write.
You just keep writing.
Yeah, I think like Stephen King said that when people ask him how he writes, he says one word at a time, which I mean, it's like that's what it is. It just is practice like anything else. You just write a lot, and then you consume things that feed you. I try to. I read a lot. I don't think you have to read a lot to write songs, but for me that keeps my mind fresh, and I try to like live like artistically with a sense of intention. So consuming things that feed my artistic drive and things that spark inspiration.
Right. And with new label, new management, did they affect you in any way with the creation of this upcoming album?
They all kind of came in towards the end of the record, of making the record. So they've been really incredibly supportive. I feel like I have a lot of freedom to do what I want creatively.
Is that the first time that you felt that from a record label?
No, everyone's been in my. I mean, I've only been with one other label before this, and they were good too, as far as like allowing me to do what I wanted. I just didn't feel like my goals were being accomplished with them.
Now, you were recently on tour with City and Color, and then now you just announced you're going to be doing your headline tour this fall. What can fans expect if they were at the City and Color tour to check you out? What can they expect on this tour that will be different?
Lots of pyrotechnics and glitter guns and snakes on the stage and dancers and giraffes.
Full circus.
Yeah, choir, a boys' choir. I mean, the City and Color tour was just me by myself, so this will be with the full band, and we'll be playing the songs like they are on the record, and it's going to be a big old thing.
And as you're creating these songs, do you think about what your live show might look like?
Yeah.
That is part of the process?
To a degree. I mean, well, yeah, I guess I've made like sad, boring songwriter music for a long time, and it's all well and good. But I like big things. I like big sounds, right. And I wanted to make something that I could explore that space on stage that I wasn't really able to explore before. And also it lends itself to different visuals with videos or images and things that I never really felt like I could sincerely attach to the music I made before.
Right. With these visuals that you're mentioning, is that something that you work on yourself, on your own, or do you have a team behind it all?
I've been collaborating with some different people. I mean, I kind of had a concept for the album art, and I worked with a photographer named Charlie Shuck in Seattle, and then my art designer who's done all my records is this guy Jordan Butcher. And so we've been collaborating, and then there's a director named Christopher Harrell, and we've been working on I've released a little bit of released a teaser video and then a lyric video, and then we just shot a music video for the sound that'll be out I think in the next couple of weeks. And it's been really nice to find like my people that I really trust 100% to fulfill my vision, but also to be able to trust their vision completely. You know, a lot of times you have an idea and you like try to explain it to somebody, and then they come back with their version of your idea, and it's maybe half of what you wanted, and then you try to shape it some more, and then it becomes something else, and you're like, okay, that's cool. That's like not what I really wanted, but it's an okay thing. But with some of these guys, to be able to express an idea and have them be on the exact same page and then see the finished product and it is the thing that you saw in your brain that's a pretty special feeling.
What are you most excited about this album? What excites you when you listen to it or when you just look at it as a whole?
It's what I want to be doing now. It sounds like something I want to listen to.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to play it live. I think that's there's a part of me that has been that I haven't really been able to express in a live setting with my previous records that I think is hopefully going to come out on this tour. So lots of nude dancing from me. There'll be a lot of nudity.
Did you feel you had to wait or work your way up to the fourth album to create the music that you want to be creating? Do you feel like that was the process that you had to do, or could you have done this record maybe as your first album?
No, I think this record is an accumulation of many things.
Yeah. It's all the trial and error over the years.
Yeah, and working with different people, and I have a side project back home called Young in the City, and then I had another project that I've started working on with another friend, and just spending time with other creatives and collaborating and getting outside of my own little bubble of the things that I'm used to doing. Mm-hmm. That's been a huge part of getting me to this place.